What's up guys, Jay here and welcome back to the channel. I know I don't normally make a lot of Helldivers content, but something's been going on recently that has been making me want to talk about it a little bit more. I don't know if you guys have been like me, but if you've been on the internet somewhat the past couple of weeks, you've probably been getting a lot of articles that have been pushed at you, saying things like, Helldivers 2 player count has plummeted, or Helldivers 2 loses 90% of its player base, or Helldivers 2 is losing players at an alarming rate. I've been seeing these things pop up all the time, and it's kind of been giving me a little bit of concern, but also a little bit of confusion, because I am kind of curious as to exactly how that's happening. And a lot of big YouTube voices have put their word in on this, and many players and fans are getting a little bit worried that the state of the game is in a bit of a rough state right now. And I kind of want to voice what I think, because yes, those numbers do sound worrying, especially to people who still really enjoy playing the game, myself included. But once you think about all the factors at play here and how they're all affecting Helldivers as a game, I think it starts to make a lot more sense once you think about it a little bit more. But first, I think it's important to understand that this sort of behavior and this sort of trend is common among live service games of this type. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, a live service game like this will never be as popular as it was on initial release. Something like this is pretty much bound to happen in a game system like this. The game starts off very, very popular. Everybody likes playing it because there's so much stuff to do and everybody loves everything that they can do with it. And then as the game progresses, as people play it more and more and more, they get everything that they want. They unlock everything, or they pretty much burn out on it quickly. And then so people take breaks, or they come back when update content comes out. And this is just something that's pretty common among a lot of live service games that are out there. The only real exception to this, ironically, is Deep Rock Galactic, which has actually seen more and more people play since its initial release, I guess because of all the updates that came out, which is very good to see. But overall, this is a common thing that happens in a lot of live service games, so I think losing a large chunk of player base like this is not necessarily that surprising, especially when some of the other factors are brought into mind. And even though 90% does sound like a lot of people, and it is a lot of people, the game still readily has about 20,000 people playing at the current moment, which is roughly the same, if not a little bit more, than Deep Rock Galactic at the current moment. Now, obviously, this could change within the day or so, but there's still a lot of people playing the game. It's not like nobody's playing it. It's just compared to the massive bump of people that played it on release, there's significantly less, which is understandable. And I think in the case of Helldivers 2 specifically, there are 3 main factors that are causing this large drop in player retention and players that are just coming back to playing it. The first factor, which I think is probably one of the most impactful and important ones, is obviously the PlayStation Network drama that happened a couple months ago. If you're unaware of what happened, basically Sony at one point in time told all the players that if they wanted to continue playing the game on Steam, they would have had to link their Steam account to their PlayStation Network account, and basically that made a lot of people very, very upset because A, PlayStation Network servers are not to be trusted because they've been hacked into several times, and B, they're just straight up not available in certain parts of the world, so many people were just not going to be able to play. Now, Sony did say that they were not going to be going through with it after they saw the negative feedback, which everybody thought was going to be a big win, which it was to an extent, until Sony then decided to take the game off of Steam in the over 170 countries that are not able to access PlayStation Network. So essentially, they just locked them out one way or another, which was a really, really, really bad play for them to do. It is nice that we don't have to link our account anymore, but they still basically locked people out of playing the game, which has left a very, very sour taste in a lot of people's mouth, which I completely understand why they would not want to play if that's the case. For me personally, since I happen to be in a very privileged position to be able to actually still play it because of where I live, I do still enjoy playing it. But if that is a factor that has caused you to not want to support them anymore, I completely understand that and completely respect your decision to do that. And I think a lot of people have taken that stance, which is why those particular people have left. The second factor, I think, is just because, especially right now, there's a lot of other stuff for people to play at the current moment. I know right now we have the Season 5 of Deep Rock Galactic, obviously, which has been going very well. We have the new Elden Ring DLC, Shadows of the Erdtree, which myself I've been putting a lot of time into. Although I don't play it myself, a lot of my friends play it, but the new expansion for Final Fantasy XIV came out, which apparently has been very popular and people have been spending a lot of time with that. Not to mention things like The First Descendants coming out, which is a fun game that I've personally been playing a lot of, and a lot of people have really been enjoying it. And also just Steam summer sales are going on at the moment, so people are able to pick up things that they've been wanting to get for a while now for incredibly cheap. So I think that that's another factor, is that people are just putting time towards other games that they have been wanting to play, and since so much stuff has come out within the past month or two, has given people something else that they have have wanted to work towards, with Helldivers kind of taking a bit of a backseat to the things that they want to do. And then the third and probably most disappointing reason is just because the game feels kind of stale at the current moment. In the grand scheme of things, they haven't really added much new stuff since the game's initial release. Yes, they've been adding steadily new mission types that you can do, which are kind of nice, and they've been slowly trickling out new stratagems and new weapons and things of that nature. But if you are somebody who's played the game on initial release versus somebody who picked up the game right now, you're basically playing the exact same thing. There's just a couple of different things that you can get. The sense of progression is there, but it starts to sort of level off very quickly. Once you've played every mission type a couple of times, you start to kind of get the rhythm as to what to expect. You know what to be afraid of, what not to be afraid of. And then the only real sense of progression that they have in the game is the premium war bonds, which is another factor in and of itself. This currently is the only real way that we have to progress ourselves and to unlock new things, and it's kind of hit or miss. I know for me personally, the most recent warbond that came out, the Viper Commando, I personally wasn't crazy about because to me it seemed like a lot of flair and not a lot of substance, because it's mainly cosmetic things like skins for your drop pods, skins for your walker mech, skin for the drop ship, which if you like those kinds of things, that's fine. I'm not here to judge anybody who likes those types of things, but for me personally, I'd like to see more substance and more actual things that I can use in the premium war bonds that I'm going to be spending money on. But that's just me. But in essence, we're basically running into the same issue that many live service games have, where once you have gotten everything that you want, or everything that you at least have the want to acquire, there's really not much else to do in the game, and you're basically just going through missions just for the sake of going through them. What's more is I think people are noticing that Helldivers 2 has so much potential for more stuff that the devs just are taking full advantage of, and I think that's what's making them more upset. Like, we still haven't gotten the Illuminate yet. There's still a whole section of the galaxy that we haven't even talked about or even reached. There's just a lot of things that people have been wanting to see added into the game or changed that have just not been implemented yet. And then other questionable things that have been implemented, like a while ago, there was a humongous nerf to many different weapons and stratagems that were implemented, which were kind of fixed somewhat with a huge wave of buffs that happened about a couple weeks ago or so that kind of helped offset that. But still, we're just kind of in a situation where nobody really has much stuff to work towards now, and if they announce a new war bond and it doesn't seem to have anything that you're super interested in, you're probably just gonna stay out of the game for a little while. Plus, I know that apparently the devs over at Arrowhead are taking apparently a big summer break, so the game isn't going to necessarily get a whole lot of stuff, which is something else that people are concerned about. But I mean, they are a company, they do have vacation time, so I completely understand that they want to take advantage of that. And it's not like Helldivers 2 is in a detrimental state. Like, yes, they have lost players, but it's not so much to the extent that I feel as though they're worried about anything. I think the big takeaway from all of this is that the drop in players is not necessarily a problem. I think what is going to be a problem is if they stay away, if they don't get some kind of a big jump back in players at some point in time, if a big update comes out. I'm not sure if when Arrowhead comes back, they're planning on doing the Illuminate update as soon as they get back, which adds, you know, the Illuminate and a whole new section of the galaxy for us to explore and discover. All of those things are kind of up in the air, and we really don't know much of anything about that. It's really only Arrowhead that knows anything, and we kind of just have to wait and see. But ultimately, I'm not really too worried about this. I just think that this is the typical drop in popularity that all live service games have at some point in time before some new update or something comes out that is just going to jump it back up again. And I don't think Helldivers 2 is going to be any different. Hopefully, after this current lull that Helldivers is experiencing, it'll come back with something big to help incentivize players to jump back in. I do think they need to do something much more than just new war bonds added. They definitely need to do larger updates with vast changes or wildly different mission types or styles. Maybe something more like a narrative linear style of missions that focuses less on chaos and carnage and more about immersion and atmosphere. Just something like that. Whatever they do decide to do, it needs to be more than just a new war bond every month with just a handful of new weapons or things to use. But anyway, I just wanted to express my thoughts on the topic. I hope things do change because I do love this game, as I've said before, and I want it to be enjoyed by as many people as humanly possible. I might make some more Helldivers content in the future, so if you guys would like that, let me know down in the comments, and let me know how your thoughts are on this whole situation. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video enjoyable. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, as it tells me what types of videos you guys want to see. For Super Earth Helldivers, I'll see you in the next video.